Hello, everyone. This is Darcinovia here. Boy, it's been a while since I've done a Star Wars related video, hasn't it? Wow. Well, the Jedis cantina is back once again, and I I have some topics I'd like to discuss regarding Star Wars. And yes, this is a general Star Wars talk stream. So for those of you who are more here for my other takes, leave it to the door or just wait for me to do another one of those streams because I'm trying to keep this specifically about Star Wars. Now, I probably don't expect this stream to get that much traction, considering none of my non-political ones do that well at this point. But considering that, you know what? I feel like talking about Star Wars. Let's do it. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, there's various topics. So, I'll just speak what comes on my mind. I mean, goddamn, like Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones is like 20 years old. Holy shit. I should have probably done a stream dedicated to happy 20th anniversary to Episode 2, but I just didn't feel like it. But I could talk about it now. When I think about it in retrospect, Episode 2 may not be my favorite Star Wars movie. It's not my favorite movie of the original saga by George Lucas. But I think the movie gets a lot of undeserved hate. And possibly one of these days I might do more of an in-depth defense of Attack of the Clones. I mean, yeah, there's things the movie could have done right. It could have done a lot better. Like, perhaps George Lucas should not have cut certain scenes from the film. That actually would have helped Anakin and Padme's story more. I mean, Attack of the Clones is like the longest movie of the original saga, so yeah. But still, I still have a soft spot for it. I actually still love the movie, even though it's my least favorite of the original 6. So yeah, and no, this entire stream is not about celebrating Episode 2. This stream is just talking general Star Wars. Specific topics are going to be discussed. It's just Attack of the Clones. I feel like I should discuss this and just celebrate it. It's its 20th anniversary. I mean, 20 years later, and people are still talking about this film. And I think that's still impressive. Like in Attack of the Clones still has cultural relevance, unlike certain movies of the Star Wars franchise who have all but been forgotten, pretty much. Even though this is the weakest film of the prequel trilogy, in my opinion, I still think that it's a good movie. Nobody's going to change my mind that it's not a good movie, because I actually do think it's a good movie despite a lot of its problems. And I think a lot of people who criticize this film, along with the other prequel films, they listen to people who have never actually watched or understood how movies are made. There's far worse dialogue in film, far worse acting in film, yet it seems like the prequels are the ones that actually get attacked the hardest for problems that are in a lot of movies in general. I mean, if anyone's going to actually criticize, I'm just bring up Attack of the Clones because one of the most things that's criticized the most is the acting. It's like, have you guys seen like the original Star Wars films? Like, if you're looking for a franchise with amazing acting, the original films had its moments of bad acting too. I mean, A New Hope. Have you not seen that movie recently? A New Hope is the weakest film in the original trilogy when it comes to acting. Yet these prequel hate-bashing original trilogy fanboys will ignore poor acting moments in the original Star Wars. I'm not saying that the prequels are perfect or Attack of the Clones specifically, but I think it gets a lot of undeserved hate. I think Attack of the Clones, I think the biggest problem with this film is it feels like I think the movie should have been longer. It should have been as long as George Lucas wanted it to be. I mean, who gives a shit if it would have been 3 hours? I think Attack of the Clones like should have been as long as it needed because I felt like there's a lot that could have been done in this film that just simply could have been done in under like 3 hours. I just felt like there should have been more, but that's just me. That's how I like view the prequel films. And 6 people are watching, which I'm shocked. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, and thank you, Christopher Parker, for your comments so far. Yeah, I wish I could talk about this more in detail, but Attack of the Clones is just, I'd have to do a stream specifically, or not a stream, a video dedicated exclusively to each of the prequel films. But I will say that I did see Attack of the Clones in theaters. Well, that's one thing I will give credit to that and the Phantom Menace. Actually, I thank you for bringing that up. I think one thing that a lot of people don't like seem to ignore when they talk about the prequels, especially those who hate on the prequels, we only have 2 Star Wars movies where the galaxy is not in a state of war. Only 2. Of course, the war does start at the end of Attack of the Clones, but we don't actually get to see what the galaxy looks like when they're in at times when there isn't war. Yeah, there was tensions in both films, but it felt like it was nice to see the eye of the storm, as I would say, as someone would say, in Attack of the Clones. The war was inevitable, and same thing with the Phantom Menace. And I think that's what made those films unique. And I think a lot of people, a lot of the reasons why people don't like, the prequels in general is because the movies are far more complicated than people want to give them credit for. When people say the movies don't make sense, it's like, no, Star Wars hasn't changed. You have. There's these great videos I've watched the other day. I don't remember the YouTuber's name is, but there's 2 videos. Two of them, they're both linked in my community tab, where this guy goes into great detail about what George Lucas, like, what his ideas were, what inspired him. Like, that is what this guy covered. And you know what? Attack of the Clones, despite its problems, it gave us a part of the Star Wars universe that we don't see often. Like, we don't see how other people are affected by war. And I think this would be expanded upon in other materials, such as the Clone Wars TV series and various novels and the multimedia project that was released between 2003 and 2005. In general, I actually think that these prequel movies don't get the credit that they deserve, though we have been seeing people defending these films and do it in a way that actually makes the haters look stupid. I mean, lately, the prequel hate, they're in the minority at this point. And one thing I'm really getting sick and tired of is the revisionist history regarding the prequel trilogy. Like, oh, the prequels were always hated when they came out. Okay, they may have been hated by a vocal minority of the fandom, but it wasn't the majority of the fandom. I think that's just revisionist history. And if we're really going to take the words of snobby critics who, like, let's be honest with you, who, like, at that time and still today, like, give a movie a bad review if it isn't patriotic, or if the movie isn't like pro status quo. It's like, come on, these snobby critics, they don't know anything about film. They don't know anything of how a film is made. They don't know the process. They know nothing. They literally know nothing. They literally know nothing about like how these movies are made. And that's the thing I find ironic about critics. Oh, these movies were hated by critics and fans. Okay, Which fans are we talking about? That's the question I would like to ask. What fans are we talking about? Are we talking about you know, a small percentage of the fucking fandom who are fucking brain dead, who's and I've seen multiple I would have done the prequels. It's just like boring bullshit that would have been would have been fucking forgotten in the sands of time. Like these are the same fucking people that criticize the EU for the same reasons they criticize the prequels. It's like you guys don't have a creative bone in your body. I mean, seriously, the prequels, despite their problems, are competent movies in terms of story, in terms of entertainment value. It's like if you don't like the prequels because it makes you feel uncomfortable because it actually talks about the state of the world. It's like, yeah, Star Wars is not just some space fantasy you could just ignore and act like it's just some brainless kids movie. Because if you actually say that, this is a kids movie, kids are stupid, they can't understand politics. No, blanket fanboys, kids aren't stupid, you are. Kids are far more intelligent than these snobby OT elitists want to give them credit for. They know when something's fucking up. They know when something is wrong. I mean, you actually think kids are so stupid they can't understand that there's something off about their government? Of course they not. Like, kids are always considered stupid by adults because adults refuse to see that their ideas are backwards. And the prequel trilogy, Attack of the Clones especially, did an amazing job showing I don't even consider the Republic a democracy, but let's just, because this is George Lucas's work, so let's just go by George Lucas's own words. Seeing how a republic decays into fascism. We see that happening. We see the birth of the Empire in Attack of the Clones, and people think, I hate the fact that Jar Jar Binks was the reason why the Empire existed. You do realize there's been useful idiots and fools in history that have done things that indirectly helped put people into power, like Palpatine. You do know that, right? It's like these people don't know anything about history, nor do they know anything about politics, how it works. There's plenty of Jar Jar Binks out there in the world. And Jar Jar Binks is hardly unique. There's people that were far worse than Jar Jar. There were sycophants of Palpatine that worshipped him, that loved Palpatine, that worshipped the boots that he fucking walked on. It's like there was far worse people than Jar Jar Binks. Yet, we're gonna hate Jar Jar because Jar Jar, did something where Jar Jar actually didn't think he was doing something bad. He thought he was doing something good. He actually thought he was doing the right thing. Jar Jar Binks was politics was not something that he was equipped to deal with. So yeah, I wonder. It's like, did you guys pay attention to any of the fucking movies? I doubt it. These are the same people that act like, the original trilogy. I might as well switch topics. The original trilogy has been desecrated because of the special editions. It's like, these are the same people. It's like the special editions are like, come on. Really? The special editions? There's this great video by this YouTuber. I'd recommend every one of you to watch it. That's almost 4 hours long, but actually gets into great detail about the concept of film, how edits to movies have always happened. And there's always been the people like George Lucas have always tampered with their films, some of which have actually done a drastic revision of their film and not letting the version of the movie that they don't want to be available. It's like there's people that have made far more drastic changes, but George Lucas gets all the hate. Everyone likes to hate George because, oh my God, George Lucas. Oh my God, George Lucas, we are entitled to the original versions. Do you guys even know what the original versions look like? None of you do. None of you do. There's been alterations of the original Star Wars movie, especially long before they released the first VHS release for the first movie. Far before. Like, when you say unaltered version, I question, which version are you talking about? Are you talking about the version that was released in theaters? Because there were two versions, by the way. I didn't even know this, but this guy who did this documentary went in great detail, showed various different versions of the film. Like, what cut are you talking about? When people say, I want the unaltered versions, like, there is, like, no fucking... Okay, what is the unaltered version? It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Because the movie has been altered since the 1970s. There is no, like, unaltered theatrical cut of A New Hope. It never has existed. The first version that was released on VHS was not the unaltered version. When people say, oh, I want to watch the unaltered version, which version are you talking about? There's so many different versions of A New Hope. I didn't even realize how many versions there were. And when I hear people, oh, watch the despecialized editions, it restores the movies to their theatrical states. Like, no, it doesn't. Because you guys don't know what they fucking look like. You guys want to watch movies that you've never seen in their original state. You never have. And if you did, you have a fucking memory that is covered in rose-tinted glasses. Like, I don't know if any of you guys know this. The special editions are the reason why we're still able to watch the original Star Wars films. Like, why we're still able to watch them. Because, like, the film was degrading. Like, and it was only 20 years, like, when the first Star Wars movie was released, back in 1997, when the special edition came out. And it was only called the special edition once. Every release after 1997 was just called the original trilogy. And if you have to be honest with you, George Lucas, he has no obligation to release the original versions of the films. And I used to be in the camp that, you know what, they should release the unaltered versions. I no longer believe that, because I think that with how easy it is to find those multiple versions of the movies now, let's be honest, how many percentage of the population of Star Wars really want to spend money on a movie they already own? Because majority of people who've seen the original Star Wars films, like, when they watch it, it's like, oh my god, this is stupid. I want to watch the special edition. I don't want to watch this special edition shit. I want to watch the original. No, most people don't fucking care about that. Why? Because people are not going to spend, unless they're a hardcore fan, double dip on a film they already own, so they could have a movie without some of the special edition changes. They don't care. Majority of the fandom do not care. It's a vocal minority. They don't speak for most fans. And let's be honest here, they're not going to remaster the original versions. It's never going to happen, whatever you want to call them, because how much money would it cost to actually remaster them? It wasn't cheap to remaster the original films in the first place when it came to the special editions. It wasn't cheap. People actually seem to think that you know, George Lucas could, like, at least back then, could have easily remastered them at any point. He already remastered the movies to what he wanted for them. And I think anybody that works on a thing of art, they should be able to do what they want with their art. It's not up to you, or it's not up to the fucking critics to tell what people like George, what they can and cannot do. There's been many movies that have been altered beyond the point where people have originally seen them. You don't hear anything from these people. Like, I'll use an example like that's famous. Blade Runner 2049 is not, no, I'm referring to another film, not Blade Runner 2049. The original Blade Runner. Sorry, I got the two mixed up. Blade Runner, the original film. There was 5 different versions. If Ridley Scott was able to go back and do it again, he would have done only one cut of the film, and that would have been the cut that most people probably have seen. And I'm referring to the final cut of Blade Runner. There's so many different versions of Blade Runner. Yet, where's the fans out? Where's people's outrage? Oh my God, we need to preserve like the worst version of Blade Runner. I'm referring to the theatrical cut. We must keep, because this is an important part of film history. No, and far as I'm concerned, I think what should be important in film history are the versions of film that were preferred by the director. Because in my opinion, as someone that has an artistic mind, I actually think that if somebody wants this specific version to be seen, then you know what? That should be valid. I know Stanley Kubrick for The Shining. There's over 20 minutes of footage that is forever lost because he destroyed it. Because he didn't want people to alter his movie beyond to where it's not recognizable. Because at some points, let's say, okay, maybe a few minutes of footage, it's not a different movie. But when you add like 60 minutes to a film or 80, that might as well be another movie altogether. So I actually think directors should and artists in general should be able to have their films be presented and how they would like them to be presented. Because I think anyone that argues like, oh no, these people owe us something. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I don't. Like, the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 I actually think it's a good film. But I would really have liked to watch the original version of Superman 2, but I can't find it. And what about that? A movie like that where you have a director who worked on that film, yet his work is all but erased through history because of Richard Donner's cut of Superman 2. Like every time I look for Superman 2, it's always Richard Donner's cut. It's not the original cut. Now, I'm not saying that all this is as valid, but when you have a film that's basically has a directed by Richard Donner, and yet a guy who had an entire cut of his film be all but erased history, where's the outrage over that? Because that's something worth talking about. Because I think that version of the film should be available to people who actually want to see both versions. Like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, they've been altered too. But oh no, we're not going to, oh my God, what we're reading is not The Hobbit. So we're going to, like, holy shit, we're going to fucking, like, bother the Tolkien estate about releasing a version of The Hobbit that doesn't exist anymore and hasn't existed for, like, almost a century now. So yeah, let's, like, complain about that. It's like, it's so stupid. It's childish nonsense. It really is. It's really childish how these, we want to preserve history of film, are silent about, like, the history of film being destroyed. This is still a Star Wars stream, so this isn't off topic, but I'm just going to bring this up. Like, 95% of film history from the silent era is gone. Erased. That's a part of history that we can never replicate. We can never get that back. Over 50% of films that after that era have also been lost. There's so much of our history that's been lost because of corporations not properly preserving any of this stuff. Where's your outrage? That's why I just cannot take these entitled fanboys seriously about Star Wars. Oh, we have a bunch of classic movies are available in the original form, but not Star Wars. It's like bullshit. You can still watch the original films. And let's be honest here, the special editions, I don't care how much you despise these versions. They are so minuscule in their changes. Like, most of it doesn't affect the movie as a whole. Anyone that actually claims, oh, this changes the viewing experience. What? Because you have a few new scenes and a few new special effects that it suddenly changes how you view the movie. Give me a break. I mean, come on. Come on. Seriously? Or, oh my God, the Ewoks, their eyes are blinking. It's like, that's how George Lucas wanted it. He had a difficult time getting their eyes to blink. So George Lucas is not allowed to do what he wanted to do. And by the way, some of these changes, a lot of them, they are approved by the people that worked on these movies. The director of Empire Strikes Back actually was not happy that they weren't able to get Cloud City to their specifications because it was not possible back in the 80s. He approved. It's people I ignore how some of these directors and the actors, some of them actually do approve of the special edition changes. They're not vocally against it. And if it's oh my God, but changing Boba Fett's voice actor from the original guy to Jango completely erases that actor from history. You do realize all these actors, when they sign a contract, there's a lot of actors who get hired for roles that are not even in the movie at all. It's seriously, who cares? Star Wars, the original versions, with the age of the internet, there's so many ways you can watch the despecialized versions of the original trilogy now that I think it's childish to still cling to this fantasy that film history has been destroyed. When, if anything, it's being preserved. It's the fans that are preserving the original version, and because I'm not going to criticize them for wanting to preserve it, because if they want to do that, then they want to do that. But George Lucas and Lucasfilm are no obligation to do what you guys want, because at the end of the day, and I am saying this, it's a business. Lucasfilm isn't going to spend more money than it's worth to take original footage that probably doesn't exist and remaster it and sell it in order to appease some, which is, be honest, a tiny fraction of the film community, because a lot of them just don't care. A lot of people just don't care when they see a Star Wars movie. Oh, the original trilogy. It's they see it. They can watch on Disney Plus. I don't think the last thing majority of people care about is, oh my God, this ruins my childhood. No, it's just children. Because there's been an entire generation of fans that have been raised on these versions of the movie that really can't tell the difference. And honestly, I watched the special editions. And when I watched the original version of Return of the Jedi, I was actually shocked that one of the things that stood out for me was the ending for the film. How, to me, that the original films are not my version of Star Wars. And I don't give a shit. I preferred the changes that George Lucas made after 1997, because I feel like it improved the films in many ways. Yeah, there's some things I don't like Jedi Rocks, which is pretty bad. It's okay, I don't think I want to watch this. I think it's terrible, but it's George Lucas's vision, and George Lucas wanted to get the thing to move and be more lively. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. People talk about, oh, this CGI looks so fake. Yeah, if you look at some of those puppets, they look fake too. I mean, give me a break. Seriously, people, give me a break. This is a movie that you guys claim, oh, this movie is for kids. Yeah, you guys people take Star Wars more seriously than George Lucas does. At the end, George Lucas said that Star Wars is for 12-year-olds. And you know what? I'm fine with that. If you're not willing to accept that, then you know what? That's your problem. I mean, after all, isn't George Lucas' word is law? If George Lucas thinks Star Wars is for 12-year-olds, that doesn't mean he says it's for kids. He's just saying it's for people 12 and up. Yeah, there's a lot of people that aren't kids that are fans of Star Wars, but it doesn't invalidate George Lucas's point. And then you had some idiots. I can't believe they actually said this. Oh, the originals were so dark. The original Star Wars films. It's motherfucker, the only dark film in the originals is Empire Strikes Back. The fucking prequel trilogy is extremely dark. It's where have you been? The prequel trilogy is way darker. Oh, but wait, because it's the prequels, and you don't like the prequels. It's like, this is the reason why at this stage I'm not like, I still hate the sequel trilogy, but I actually feel like what the sequels did was it forced Star Wars fans to actually reevaluate themselves, because the prequel trilogy was everything they hated about George Lucas's Star Wars, and the sequel trilogy is everything they hated about Disney Star Wars. What's the difference? They wanted a rehash of the original trilogy. They wanted Star Wars, but with the original trilogy aesthetic. They got it, and you have the worst series of films ever. Yeah, it is fandom entitlement. It is. And you know what? I would argue that this entitlement is one of the reasons why we're stuck with creepy CGI abominations instead of actually just recasting the actors. I don't know if this is going to come off as controversial. I don't care. I would rather a different actor play Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Leia than have CGI abominations doing basically to keep the characters looking like the original actors. I'm sorry. I find Luke Skywalker and Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, that CGI, it's creepy. It really is creepy. It really, really, really is creepy. It's like Luke Skywalker doesn't even sound human. It's like, what's wrong getting another actor to play the character? A talented actor. We could do it. It's like, the problem with Solo, and that's just one thing I'm going to bring up, because Kathleen Kennedy bring this up. We're not going to recast any old characters again. So, so I guess we're not going to give Donald Glover, like, who is, and I'm just going to say this as someone who didn't even like Solo. Donald Glover was great as Lando. He did the role well. And I think he deserves, like, another shot of playing Lando. And I think just writing it off because of one failure is ridiculous. I mean, come on. And as for Han Solo, it's like, of course it's going to be, he's not going to have the same vibe as Harrison Ford. I don't really like Aaron Reich as Han Solo, but I still think, are we really just going to give up after one fucking failure? That's the thing about Disney Star Wars. One major failure, oh, let's go back to the drawing board. No, you try again, find out what you did wrong, and do it again. That's the thing that pisses me off. Because I'm just going to say this. Fandom entitlement is what caused Solo to fail. Because they're so angry about, The Last Jedi went against my shitty fan theories that a movie that didn't deserve to fail did. But then again, I can't blame this completely on the fandom. I have to blame this on Lucasfilm for being cowards who don't have the balls to actually just do what they want to do. And I'm just going to be honest. We're going to have to recast characters if we're going to keep using them. It's like, why is it that Star Trek could still, like, use old characters? Because they recast them. They don't use CGI abominations. It's like, we've had 3 actors play Spock. Nobody in the Star Trek fandom is complaining. We've had 4 actors play Christopher Pike. We've had 3 actors play Uhura. It's like, we're going to have to either recast the actors or stop using the characters. I don't want to see CGI abominations. I'm sorry. I do not want to see, like, some freaky looking young Han Solo because Lucasfilm is scared shitless of casting a different actor to play Han. It's like, it's creepy shit. It really is creepy shit. And this is someone that actually would rather them not cast another actor as Luke. But if I had a choice between a creepy CGI abomination versus a versus a CGI abomination versus a recast, I'd rather have the recast. Because at least with the recast, it feels like it's another, like, actor playing the character and actually expand the character not having them sound like an emotionless robot, because I think that's bullshit. There's plenty of people that can do Luke Skywalker. If we're talking about video games and audio dramas, you've had different people done Luke Skywalker for years. I don't understand why the current Lucasfilm, why they're so afraid of getting different people to do different characters. Hell, Yoda has had multiple different voice actors. Anakin Skywalker, for counting voice actors, had 4 actors play him. I'm not going to count Lego, but I'm just talking about the movies and the shows. Like, we've had 4. It's like for Obi-Wan, we've had like 3. Leia has been played by a different voice actor in Rebels in one episode. It's like, I think that might be like 3. Actually, no, 4 or 5 if we count her appearances in video games. It's like, why can't we just simply recast these characters? If we can get different people to voice these characters before the Disney era, like, I think we could get a different actor. I mean, there's people before the purchase of Disney Star Wars, whatever you want to call it, who actually had people that actually did a good impersonation of Mark Hamill in Star Wars games. Jedi Academy, Jedi Outcast. There's no way we could just be stuck in this era where everyone like is just being digitally recreated. Why do we need to do it? Who cares? Let the fucking fans complain. It's ridiculous. Like, I'm pretty sure the technology will get better, but I just find it to be creepy and morbid. I'd just rather have a real human being play the character of Luke Skywalker. Is it going to be different than Mark Hamill doing it? Obviously, but at least it will get a chance for another actor to give their own take on Luke Skywalker, rather than just let it just be frozen only to Mark Hamill. Because I think that's an injustice to Luke. Because when George Lucas owned Star Wars, you've had multiple people voice Luke Skywalker. I'm going by radio dramas and video games. We've had multiple people voice Luke Skywalker. Multiple. Why can't we do the same today? Why? Yeah, Sebastian Stan would be perfect as Luke Skywalker. He'd be perfect. They have a good actor already. They could do to play the Luke Skywalker, but they won't do it because, oh my God, we don't want to deal with backlash again because Solo flopped. No, Solo flopped because it was released like not even a year after The Last Jedi. That's why it flopped. There was no time for that movie to breathe. If it was released in the same time frame as The Last Jedi, it would have done a lot better. I mean, Solo was literally released in the same month as Infinity War. Do these people not understand that Infinity War is what killed Solo? Regardless what people, think of those movies, Infinity War was an event. There was movies that was building up to that movie for over a decade at that point. There was a lot of hype behind Infinity War. And having a Star Wars movie released at that same time frame was the worst marketing decision Disney and Lucasfilm ever made. That is true. That is very true. However, had they released it at the end of the year, far away from movies like Infinity War, Solo would have done better. A lot better. I mean, you would have people ask for Solo 2 if it didn't have some fans. And that's the thing that is a shame about Solo. I actually think it didn't deserve, as much as I don't like the film, to actually basically get shelved and basically kill any chance of any potential things being done, like with other characters getting recast, because it's going to happen eventually. It's going to have to happen. And would rather have Lucasfilm recast every character who's too old. Oh, sorry, actor that's too old to play a character, because I don't want to see CGI abominations. I would rather have a real actor play the character. We all know that this is a different actor playing them. If Star Trek fans can accept different actors for Spock, then I think Star Wars fans can do the same for Luke. If we were able to deal with different people doing the character of Luke long before the sequel trilogy existed, then I actually think that it's time to recast Luke. I actually think clinging to the past is what's hurting Star Wars. That includes actors. I actually think the actors, like in general, we need to, like, yeah, Luke Skywalker and Mark Hamill. I will always see Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, but I also see him as the Joker and various other things that he's done. Harrison Ford will always be Han Solo. Carrie Fisher will always be Princess Leia. That's not going to be taken away. That is why I am against the very notion that we need to have these characters frozen in time. The original actors who play these characters, their roles will never be taken away. They're always going to be remembered in history as the people that played those characters. Just like William Shatner will always be Kirk, even if there is another actor that plays him. Leonard Nimoy will always be Spock, despite two different actors playing him. There's various other people that could do Luke if given a chance. Han Solo too. Leia as well. I don't even care about Indiana Jones 5. As far as I'm concerned, if George Lucas is not involved, I don't think that there should be another movie. There shouldn't be. Regardless how people feel about Indiana Jones 4, I actually think that it's George Lucas's baby, and I think George Lucas should be involved. Then again, I probably don't blame George Lucas, considering he doesn't want to work for a corporation. So yeah, I mean, it's really sad. Honestly, that people are so fixated on, like, we shouldn't recast Luke because we don't want the character to change. It's like, I'm sorry, but Mark Hamill isn't getting any younger. He can't play Luke Skywalker at that age in Mandalorian. He can't do it. He's too old. Carrie Fisher's gone. Harrison Ford doesn't want to come back. If you want to use these characters in these new shows, you're going to have to recast. And I actually think recasting would be actually cheaper in the long run than recreating the actors through CGI. It really would be cheaper. That is true. That is true regarding Chewbacca. But then again, Chewbacca is a guy in a suit, and most people don't think of Chewie, as a whatever actor that plays him, because anybody can play Chewie. But I don't know. I honestly think that it's a bad idea for Lucasfilm to dismiss the option of recasting, because I think CGI is just not a replacement for actual acting. I think having a computer do the voice of Luke Skywalker just feels creepy to me. I think we need, in general, I think we need to either move on from these characters completely and not use them again. But I feel like, what would be the point, considering in this, I'm just going by canon. In canon, Luke, Han, and Leia are still young enough where they probably have done a lot of stuff in this period. And I think that completely ignoring them because you're afraid of pissing off fans for recasting the characters or CGI is foolishness. Foolishness, in my opinion. It's foolishness. I think these characters should be utilized fully because we don't know what they've done in this era in canon. I think tell new stories of new characters. That is a fair point, but if you want to tell new stories of new characters, you either have to go way back or after the rise of Skywalker. And I know people don't want to hear this, but all roads will lead to the sequel trilogy. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. No amount of bitching about, Lucasfilm is going to retcon the sequel trilogy. Well, yeah, they are, but not in the way you would think. I mean, adding additional context to how everything went down in the sequel era is not really anything more than expanding the universe. I hate to break it to you, but the sequel trilogy is not going to be retconned in the sense where they're just going to say, this no longer happened. No. You're never going to get decanonization of the sequel trilogy, considering the fact that Star Wars fans, as much as the vocal minority want to make themselves out look, everyone hates the sequel trilogy. No. I wish that was true as someone that despises those films, but that is not the case. Majority of the fandom has become indifferent towards the sequels. There always will be people that will hate the films, obviously, but the sequel trilogy are part of the franchise, and you cannot simply say Lucasfilm is going to ignore like that era because you don't like it. I would like them to. I would like them just to decanonize them and just be done with it, but that's not happening. I'm being realistic. All roads will lead to the sequel trilogy. All of them. It doesn't matter how far back you go. It doesn't matter. Like, you could do like prequel after prequel after prequel. Every story eventually leads to the sequel trilogy. You cannot ignore it. You can't. You might be able to if you just strictly follow Legends. You could ignore it by doing it that. But if you're going to be following Star Wars, if you're going to invest yourself into Star Wars, eventually every story leads to the sequel trilogy. Every one of them. Every single one of them. Oh, fuck off. If you actually... Okay, I'm not dealing with sequel fanboys. Anyway, sorry. There was a troll. I don't tolerate sequel fanboys. You're never going to decanonize them. I think it's foolishness. I think at this point, fans just need to accept it and just move on. It's not like there aren't other avenues. If you don't want to acknowledge the sequels exist, there's other ways you could do that. There's the expanded universe, and it's like, but I don't want to read a bunch of books and comics. I'm sorry, but that's the reality. If you're going to basically ignore like the beauty of this expanded universe because you don't want to read, then I'm sorry. I don't offer you any alternative, honestly, because that's the only alternative to ignoring the sequel trilogy, because Disney are not going to decanonize movies just because some people on the internet are complaining about them. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. We already know what happened when they catered to the vocal minority. You had, in my opinion, the worst Star Wars movie, Rise of Skywalker. A movie made to please everyone and pleased no one. There may be like maybe 4 or there may be like 1 or 2% of people who've watched it that actually legitimately enjoy it. But yeah, it's like Rise of Skywalker was hated even by people that like The Last Jedi. And nobody's going to actually convince me that fucking Rise of Skywalker isn't the worst fucking movie ever made. It's just bad. It is literally, it's one of the worst movies of all time. Like, it is literally bad. No one's going to convince me that it's not. From from plot holes that don't make any sense to like the dialogue being shit. And I cannot believe this dialogue's in the movie. Somehow Palpatine returned. Yeah, that's actual dialogue in Rise of Skywalker. Somehow Palpatine returned. That scene in the movie, it's almost as if like the actor who played like Isaac, I forgot his name. Like he read the line in the script, he was like, wait, what? Rise of Skywalker is what happens when you pander to the vocal minority. That movie, in my opinion, damaged the sequel trilogy completely. The Force Awakens was bad. The Last Jedi was bad, but at least it set some interesting things up for the Rise of Skywalker. What does Rise of Skywalker do? Let's see. Does it give the sequel trilogies much deserved breathing room so it could actually have a TV show like TCW in the between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker? Does it have a 3 or 4 or 5 year time skip? Oh no, it happens. The entire sequel trilogy happens in the span of a year. What? There's like literally no room to expand the story in this era. Like if you want to expand Rey and Kylo's relationship, there's no room because J.J. Abrams is a fucking hack that freaking decided to fucking leave nothing for anyone to work with. The sequel trilogy is impossible to actually improve because J.J. Abrams left them with nothing. And everyone wants to say, oh, Rian Johnson single-handedly ruined the sequels. No, it was fucking Jar Jar Abrams with his stupid fucking mystery box bullshit. Fucking, the mystery box bullshit. It's like, seriously. It would have been bad, but at least it would have been better. And that's the thing. I think the sequel trilogy, had they gone with the Duel of Fate script, I actually do think there would be people that actually would look at the film and it's like, you know what? The sequel trilogy may have had a lot of problems, but at least the last two films at least did something bold. That's what Duel of Fates would have been. But no, they went with the safe fucking route, where they ignore like 90% of what Rian Johnson did. And I'm just going to say this. Rian Johnson's Last Jedi was far more interesting than anything Jar Jar Abrams did with The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker. Because at the very least, at least it had the balls to do something new. At least it did something different. Yeah, I'm not happy with what it did to Luke. But you know what? It took balls to do that. It took a lot of fucking balls to do what Rian Johnson did. Oh, wait, Kylo Ren rejecting redemption? That took balls, even though that was already done in the last film. Oh, Rey not being related to anyone until it was retconned a movie later? That took balls. Rian Johnson had balls to do what he did in the Last Jedi. And I know many people here hate that film, me included. But I at least respect The Last Jedi. Just because I hate it doesn't mean I can't respect it. Because at least The Last Jedi was willing to do something different. It was not catering towards the audience. It was telling the story it wanted to tell, as flawed as that was. I will defend The Last Jedi and claim and say that The Last Jedi, I may hate this film, but at least as a movie, it at least tried to do something different. While Rise of Skywalker was an attempt to appease a vocal minority. A vocal minority. A vocal minority. And if Rey was going to be a Palpatine, it would have been better to reveal it in The Last Jedi. It would have raised the stakes in the Rise of Skywalker. And I know people are like, oh, but Darth Sinovia, no one could take Kylo Ren seriously. It's like, you know why no one could take Kylo Ren seriously? Because he wears that stupid mask, and when he fucking talks in that mask, he sounds like some emo fucking guy. Like, I'm just gonna say this: Kylo Ren, when he wore his mask, I couldn't take him seriously. Kylo Ren sounded like he was fucking gonna fucking burst crying. Kylo Ren is a fucking crybaby when he's fucking wearing the mask. That's what he sounds like. He sounds like a crybaby. With the mask off, I actually could take Kylo Ren far more seriously. And like, I just can't take that character seriously with the mask on. He just sounds like a fucking crybaby. And I think Rian Johnson made the right call. And he mocked the mask, which was true. The mask was stupid. What reason did he have to wear that stupid thing other than to sell some toys? That's what it felt like what the mask was created for, was to sell toys. Oh, to make Kylo Ren look cooler than he actually was. I mean, I just couldn't. It's like, it's not like his face was fucked up. Kylo Ren, he just wore the mask because he was a Vader worshiper. Like, Lego Star Wars mocked this character ruthlessly, and rightfully so. And even mocked the very idea of Rey being a Palpatine. And yeah, it's like the very idea of the grandchildren of Anakin and Palpatine, like, fighting each other for the last time. It's fan fiction. The Rise of Skywalker was so bad, like, it ruined the entire sequel trilogy. Any rewatch value those films had are gone because of Rise of Skywalker. Of course, I'd argue it ruined the entire saga, which is why I haven't really watched those films. I haven't actually seen The Rise of Skywalker since, like, that State of Star Wars podcast I did with the guys, because it's just bad. I can't say if Duel of Fates would have been awesome, because awesome art is one thing, but in execution, I don't know how that would have turned out. Yeah, without the mask, Kylo Ren, I could actually take him seriously. And this is the one thing that a lot of people who criticize the sequels don't do. They don't actually look at the characters on the real issue with the sequels. And I was like, oh, Darth Sinovia, why are you complaining about the sequels? I'm just bringing this up. I'm actually complaining about criticism of the sequel trilogy. A lot of it is like, oh, this movie is woke or complaining about SJWs, but they don't actually talk about the fact that the people who worked on these films didn't understand their own characters. What am I talking about? Compare Finn's character from The Force Awakens to how he is in The Rise of Skywalker. In The Force Awakens, Finn is a stormtrooper that flees the First Order and is scared. He's a coward. He's someone that is afraid. He left the First Order because he was afraid. He left the First Order because he can no longer take being part of them. And you know what? That was a character. In fact, I'd argue The Force Awakens was the best version of Finn because it felt relatable in that way. And when he fought Kylo Ren at the end of the movie, that was the end of his arc in general. He overcame his, even though he was still afraid of Kylo Ren, he faced his fear head on. The other films did nothing but degrade Finn and just made him nothing more than a Rey simp. And make him a borderline fucking racist caricature of what you would normally see from a Jim Crow era black character. That's what Finn was. Kylo Ren was a character that had potential, but was wasted because of incompetent writing. Even though there was a direction where they wanted to go with Kylo Ren, with him being a reversed Vader, which I think that's what he should have stayed. But the problem with Kylo Ren is he goes through the same arc 3 times. The first film, you think he's gonna get redeemed? Nope, he kills Han Solo. So I guess he chose the dark side. The Last Jedi. Oh, is he gonna get redeemed? No, nope. He chooses the dark side. Rise of Skywalker toys with this idea again, except instead of actually rejecting the light side, he goes to the light. So it's just so stupid. Like, it felt like nobody knew what to do with this character. Kylo Ren goes to the same arc 3 times. In fact, I'd hardly call Kylo Ren a character whatsoever. And you are right. Kylo Ren is a bad character. He's a bad character that no one knew what to do with. Because the very concept of him was great. But in execution was terrible. In fact, what is Kylo Ren done right? I don't know. I guess I can't bring up Jason Solo or Revan, who you know, characters that fell to the dark side because they had good intentions and wanted to protect the galaxy from a greater evil, but they end up getting corrupted, and Jason especially ends up becoming self-righteous. Oh wait, I guess I can't bring up Jason Solo because I guess Darth Caedus is too well written, and too well written for Disney's taste. I think comparing Kylo to Disney Jason is insulting to Jason Solo, because Jason Solo was a well-written character. He was extremely well-written, and yeah, not everyone liked him falling to the dark side, but I actually think Jason's goals made sense. He was a good character, unlike Kylo Ren, who nobody knew what to do with because, like, there was no clear plan for the character. And there was no fucking redemption plan for Kylo Ren at all, or him staying to the dark side. There was no plan. And I think that's the reality that people need to accept. There was no grand plan. I think everyone blaming one director over the other when everyone's at fault for this happening. J.J. Abrams, I would argue, is the most at fault because he was the executive producer. He could have, said no every chance Rian Johnson tried to do something that drastically altered his outline. He didn't. Nobody fucking did anything. There was no accountability on any of these actors' part. There was no plan. These were corporate movies at the end of the day. And Snoke, don't get me started on that fucking shitty fucking non-character who, everything that made the character interesting, it's not the character himself, it was the concept behind Snoke. Snoke, being this being of immense power who is possibly an ancient being. At least that's what the vibe we got before The Last Jedi. It's oh, nope, he doesn't matter. Which, you know what? Rian Johnson was right. He doesn't fucking matter. He doesn't fucking matter because because his fucking story's shit. It doesn't fucking matter. Oh yeah. Oh, but the canon established this and this about Snoke. Who cares? So we're gonna really like actually like care about some shitty books that Chuck Wendig wrote? I don't care if Snoke and Palpatine were originally going to be different characters. It doesn't change the fact that Snoke was a shit character from the very start. He could have been a great character, but again, Lucasfilm didn't utilize any of these characters correctly. They could have been something more than just being like memes. Like, you want to know what the sequel trilogy is? Essentially, just play Lego The Skywalker Saga. Like, the entire game is just memes after meme after meme of the sequels. The sequels are like constantly fucking made fun of in that game. It's because they are essentially a meme. There's nothing about those films that stand out. They're forgettable. And I honestly, I'll probably elaborate on this further in the future when I discuss these movies again. Anyway, it was a fun stream, but I got stuff I got to do. So for those of you who stayed around for the whole stream, thank you. Anyway, my next stream, I'm actually going to talk about something that I'm passionate about, and that is at least Star Wars related. I may do something else like between this stream is expanded universe preservation and the importance of preserving out-of-print works in the EU. Look forward to that. Anyway, this is Darth Sinovia signing out, and see you guys later.